Bruchim Abayim. First of all, a big thank you to Rabbi Fai and Jessica for putting this beautiful evening together. Rabbi Mizrahi, Rabbi Abragamov, you'll be hearing for Bezrat Hashem this evening. It's a big schut to represent the Azkara of a great man who did great things, who himself was a light unto the nations, Mr. Edmund Safra. Alav Shalom. Bezrat Hashem, all the learning we do and the tefillot we do will be a schut for him and for all of us, because God knows we need it. Friends, we're on the edge of a precipice, entering into a very, very special Chag, special holiday. And it's special for many reasons, but mostly because, as we know, it is a time of nisim, of miracles. But at the same time, it's a challenge. You know, the word in Lashon Kodesh, in Hebrew, for a challenge or a test is a nisayon. A nisayon. And actually the rabbis tell us that's two words. Nes Yavan. Nes, miracle, of Yavan. It goes together perfectly like a jigsaw puzzle. It is the miracle of Greece, of what we, the Jewish people, went through, and I'm going to show you this evening, are still going through thousands of years later. You know, it's a very unusual thing to say that the ultimate challenge, the ultimate test was Nisayon. You know the ultimate Nisayon? Nes Yavan, the miracle of what we went through during the Second Temple period, 200 years into the Second Temple period, when Alexander the Great came. He was good, and then things got difficult with Antiochus IV, and the precursor to all of it. Why is that so difficult? I'm sure Edom, which is going on 2,000 years, is much worse than that. Or Mitzrayim, 210 years in Mitzrayim, that's a real challenge. And yet, and even Paras, the whole Purim story while it was going on, it was very difficult, my friends. Why? Why is this considered to be, this is the challenge from all challenges that we've been through? And the answer to this, my dear friends, is going to strike deeply, because it's a very unusual experience we went through on Chanukah. We're in Israel. We have control of Israel. We have a Beit HaMikdash. It's all going very, very well. All the other Galiot we went through, the other exiles we went through, we were kicked out. We were geographically displaced. But that's actually not the worst thing. The worst thing is when you have your own land, your own country. You have a Beit HaMikdash, you have the Avodah, you have the Korbanot of the Beit HaMikdash, and the rabbis who were learning Torah and doing mitzvot, and then they come into our land, and they take over our holy places, and they defile our holy people. Now that's bad. That's much worse when they come into our home, the home that we keep so secure and kadosh, that home that we try so hard to keep out the negative influences. They penetrate the essence of who we are as an Am. You want to hurt me in your country, you want to hurt me in Russia, you want to hurt me in France, you want to hurt me in the United States. I don't like it, but I get it. This is not my home. It's where we reside, and we're grateful for it. But this is not our home. Our home is Eretz Yisrael, contrary to what you're seeing on Twitter or X. Eretz Yisrael is our home. But they came in, they heard us. That's the Nisayon. That's what separates Chanukah apart from every other challenge. It becomes the Nisayon, the Nes Yavan. And that's what we're dealing with today. They defiled. They broke us down in our home. And so the menorah, the Nes Yavan, is going to be the menorah. That's going to represent everything. The battle is important, but the menorah becomes the mitzvah of the day of the 8 days. And the menorah is going to represent something very, very important. But let's talk about, Rabbi Mizrahi mentioned it, where do we put that menorah? Because really, you're meant to light the menorah outside of your house. Nachon? Outside in the Reshut HaRabim. Just outside, there's actually Gemarot. I do the Daf Yomi. Coming up in Baba Kama, we talk about cases of someone who's got a camel laden with flax, and it touches a flame. And it's like, if it's Chanukah, the owner is not liable for burning it up. Why? Because the guy should know it's Chanukah. There's a flame outside your house. Mamash, coming up in a week or so, we'll be doing that those Gemarot. It was very reference. Nice timing. And so we know that the menorah should be outdoors. Oh, we don't put it outdoors nowadays, most of us, because, well, we don't want to put ourselves too much in their face, too much of a threat. And so we put it inside, but we put it against the window. Pisur Menisa, interesting, the only mitzvah that I know of where we deliberately do it publicly. We deliberately take it and do it publicly. You don't have to put your sukkah outside. You don't walk around the streets on Pesach eating matzah. Hey, look at me, everyone. We don't do that. And yet when it comes to Chanukah, oh, you got to see what I'm doing. And the Shulchan Aruch says something very interesting. He says you need to put the mezuzah yamin on the right-hand side, and the menorah small on the left-hand side. That's what he says. You've got to be able to put each mitzvah on each side. And why do the rabbis give us a reason for this? What is the reason for this unusual minhag of one mitzvah over here or one mitzvah over there? So you've got to imagine the door. Back in Yerushalayim, by the way, to this day, you walk around. I was there last Chanukah. They put the menorah outside on the streets, a little glass box, very, very beautiful. It adds a lot of charm to the streets of Yerushalayim. So it's a minhag Yerushalayim, ad akshav. But why is this? So the rabbis say, so you're surrounded by mitzvot. Like, really? Surrounded by mitzvot? I'm not surrounded by mitzvot. As I walk into my house, I have a mitzvah here, mezuzah, and a mitzvah here, menorah. Right? Right side, left side. That's not surrounded. When I put my talit on in the morning, I do atifah. Now that is surrounded by a mitzvah. That's what we should be doing. If the whole reason is we need to be surrounded by mitzvot, then surround yourself with a talit. What is this? It's a misunderstanding, my friends. That's not what they mean. They talk about the petach habayit, the entrance to the door, to the house. That's the door, the delet. What does the delet, the door, represent? It's a very special, precious place of the house. It's actually the real mitzvah of mezuzah is to put on your front door. Actually, if you have one amazing, beautiful mezuzah, and inferior ones, you should put your best one on your front door. That's the ikar mitzvah. That's what you should do. Put it right there on the front door. That's where it should go. So the door represents a separation, an entry and exit from two spaces. What are those two spaces? Reshut HaRabim, the public domain. Reshut HaYachid, the private domain. So the rabbis are saying, you know what you need to do? You need to surround both of the entrances and exits to those two domains with mitzvot. Well, which one represents which? We have two domains and two mitzvot. Well, it makes sense, right? On which side do you put the mezuzah? Well, it depends which way you're looking at it. But on the right-hand side as you're going in. So the mezuzah represents the inside, the sanctity, the kedusha inside the house. And that means the menorah is on the left-hand side as you enter. And that's where it goes. So that represents the outside world. And this is the challenge that we have, especially today, 2023. And that is, how do you live as a Jew in your home, in the privacy of your home? How do you act? How do you relate to Torah mitzvot? And how do you act towards you being Jewish on the outside? You see, what the Greeks wanted to do at the beginning, when Ptolemy II wanted to translate the Torah into Greek, we were like, oh, no. That's a bad thing. We don't want to do that. That's a bad thing. And the rabbis are like, actually, it's a beautiful thing. Greek is a beautiful language, and will actually give a beautiful exposition. People will be able to enjoy the Torah. I'll be honest with you. I use a Chumash. I have it in English, which came from Latin, which may have come from Greek. So we're doing the same thing. What's the problem? The problem, my friends, is not, as I thought when I was a kid, that we don't want them to have the Torah. What a beautiful thing. Let them read the Torah. Let them understand it, appreciate it. The problem is for us, if we relate to the Torah without the nuance and the beauty of Lashon Kodesh, of Hebrew, that the rabbis were scared would be lost to our people if they start to allow only English or Greek or French or Russian as a translation, fine. But don't take away the Kedusha from a Torah. See, the Greeks were okay with you being at home, do the Jewish thing, but when you're out, become part of us. Be like, dress like us, act like us. Because you are one of us. There are many, many nations. You Jewish people, you have a lot to give to the world. You have information and knowledge. Just give it to us so we can enjoy it. That's good for them, but it's not good for us. Because if we lose the beauty of the Hebrew, of the Lashon Kodesh, we lose everything. And so this separation of one domain to the other is going to be a big challenge for us. You know, talking of living inside and outside your house, I was thinking about this today, and a story came to my head which goes back 24 years while I was dating my wife. And it's going to sound unusual, but when I was dating, I was in yeshiva. What are you going to do? There's only limited locations you can go to. You can go to a hotel lobby. You can go, just to be clear, I have to marry my kids off, got to keep it clean. You can go to, right? You go to a walk in the park, Central Park, we did that as well. She was living on 72nd Street on the Upper West Side. And then on a second or third date, I don't remember, we went, the big date is Barnes & Noble. Oh, that's the big date. And if it's got a Starbucks inside, that's L'Mala Min HaTeva. That's already the highest level for a date, right? It's also a cheap date. But we went over there. Actually, we went for a meal afterwards to Provi. I don't exist anymore, but it was back then, Upper West Side. Anyway, so we're in Barnes & Noble, and we have this conversation, and there I am. I'm in yeshiva. I'm an older single, and she's there. She's a working woman, you know. She's an accountant. And I said to my wife, you know, I have this thing that people like to bagel me. This expression, you used to be very in this expression. Some of you have got blank looks on your faces. Have you been bageled before? Okay. Being bageled, I'm going to bring it back into style, is when someone who doesn't look Jewish, but is Jewish, wants you to know they're Jewish and will start to make certain phrases and certain actions so that you know they're Jewish. When they do that, you've been bageled. So for example, you'll be in a store, and they'll pick up like a cup or something, and they'll see me there with my yarmulke and my nose, and they want me to know they're Jewish, because they're not wearing yarmulke, right? And they'll be like, oy vey, look at the price of this, you know? They just want you to know that they're Jewish. It's like a thing. They want you to know, so they want to feel that camaraderie. They want it to like, oh yeah, we're together in this, you know? We're the same, and neither of us are going to be paying retail. Right, you know what I'm saying? This is the feeling people want us to have. So I told my wife, I'm always getting bageled. I'm always getting bageled. She's like, what's he talking about, this Meshuggah? I said, I'm telling you, this is what happened. I don't think I've told this publicly before. We walked to Barnes & Noble, walking around, and what are you going to do? You look at the books, you laugh, you joke, you sit down, get a coffee, we're schmoozing, we're kibitzing. Someone who works at Barnes & Noble sees me, right, looking at a, you know, and he says, he goes, like this, gestures me over, like this, gestures me, come. So I said to my girl I was dating, Anita, now my wife, I'm like, is this guy waving us over? Is he like, she's like, yeah, he is. So we get up and we walk over in between two book aisles, right in the aisle between two bookshelves. And he's an employee at Barnes & Noble. He's got the big plastic badge, you know, one of the big plastic badge they walk around with on the thing on the neck, Barnes & Noble. And he looks at me like this, and he whispers, gets right in my face, like this, and he says, do you want to see a mezuzah? So I'm like, yeah, sure. Why the heck not? And this hat, you can ask my wife, this is true. He turns around, he opens his shirt like this, and he's got a mezuzah hanging on a chain from his neck. Like this, a big mezuzah. It's a true story. big gold, it wasn't like a parchment one, but like a big golden box with a shin on it, like a mezuzah. I think there's a mezuzah inside. Maybe there was. I did want to see. But it was actually very, very beautiful. And I'm looking, I'm like, ooh, very nice. What a nice mezuzah. You know what mezuzah means? And I'm a rabbi. I get into the whole thing. We're talking, and he finishes talking. He's whispering the whole time, and he goes, "It was a gift from my grandmother who passed away." And he closed his shirt and he walks off. You can be a Jew inside, and you can put a mezuzah on your door and say, "This is the sign that we're a Jew." And the rabbis have spoken to, and I've spoken to about people who keep asking us, should I take down my mezuzah, put it inside the house, outside the house? But the mezuzah is only one aspect of your life, my friends. That's the inside aspect. You've got to wear your mezuzah outside, and that's the menorah. The menorah is our opportunity to say, we are still here. And Antiochus IV, he banned many, many mitzvot. No more Brit Milah, no more Kashrut, no more Shabbat, no more Beit HaMikdash, temple service. He was the first person that I know of in history, and I could be mistaken, but he's definitely one of the earliest ones who ever, any leader who sanctioned against religious practice. You see, before then, they wanted to kill us. But this idea of sanctioning against religious practice of someone else, that's Greece. That's Antiochus IV, and the whole thing since then has been the light that we've had to carry publicly at the darkest time of the year to put our light to the window and say, Am Yisrael Chai, we are still here. I don't want to hide my mezuzah anymore. I've had enough, Ribbon Shalom. I want to wear my Torah, my mitzvah proudly. I want them to have that Greek Chumash. Let them read it. You know, I did a Shabbaton a few years ago. And a young boy, a little Jewish boy comes up to me. Little, public school teenager. I think it was the NCSY, I can't remember. I was speaking somewhere. And he comes up to me, all proud of himself, and he says, Rabbi, I'm an atheist. Rabbi, I'm an atheist. I said, have you ever read the Torah? Have you ever read the Chumash? Have you actually been through it? Have you had any Jewish studies at all? He's like, no. I said, you're not an atheist. You're an idiot. How can you claim to be an atheist when you don't know what being Torah, what being Jewish even is? You're not studying one word of Torah. He did, Baruch Hashem, and he's changed a lot. He's a good kid. Friends, this is the time. We are seeing the Nisayon. We're seeing the ultimate challenge of the violation of our homes, of our country, of our people. And but it's not a coincidence. I don't think it's a halakhic imperative to do this, but you see the videos of the boys in Gaza putting mezuzot on the door. I don't think they need to do that, but they're making a point. It's a statement. And you know what? That's what they need to do. I'm not criticizing them. I'm not going and risking my life, right? When I do that, I can have an opinion. They are, every single day. Ashrechem, let them do it. I'm not going to pass judgment. You can if you want to. Friends, this is the darkest time. The candle of the menorah has been with us for 2,000 years. The last miracle that happened to the Jewish people en masse was the Chanukah miracle of finding that one cruse of oil. After that point, the spiritual world broke down, and we've been holding on to that one light for 2,000 years, waiting for the ultimate redemption so we can reignite the menorah in its rightful place and become the ultimate Or LeGoyim. And we are close. But it's going to get a little bit harder before it gets better. We are definitely suffering the Chevlei HaMashiach, the birth pains of Mashiach right now. And all we can do is one thing. One thing, I believe, is what our generation is struggling with, and that is emunah, having faith in God and being part of the Jewish team. Team Jew. That's what we need to do. Emunah is it, having faith in God. Past generations, they had to study, they knew Gemara, they wrote the Gemara, right? We have greatest heroes and heroines. Our job is small but extremely difficult. It is the Nes Yavan, the Nisayon of holding on to faith and holding on to the flame of the Jewish people and not losing hope at the most difficult, vile times that our people have experienced in decades, if not more. Hashem should bless us all. This should be the last time we have to light our menorot, our Chanukiot, in Galut. We should, God willing, next year be lighting the big gold menorah that's sitting in the Ravah Yehudi, in the Jewish quarter in Yerushalayim, on Har HaBayit, in the third and final Beit HaMikdash, to bring a final light to all the world. B'ezrat Hashem, b'mehera v'yameinu amen. Chag Sameach.